With just over 100 days before the US presidential election, which is to hold in November, President Joe Biden has publicly declared his withdrawal from the 2024 US presidential race and has endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as his preferred nominee. Harris is now faced with the difficult task of winning the Democrats' official nomination and of winning over millions of undecided voters. Welcome to Politics and Powerplay. In this video, we bring to you the different sides to a Kamala Harris candidacy for the 2024 US presidential election, including her prospects and the various hurdles that must be overcome by Harris if she must emerge a winner of the US 2024 presidential elections. And so let's dive in. Following Biden's withdrawal from the race, one analysis is that Biden's exit may be an earlier plan put in place by the Democrats, judging that they were fully aware of Biden's cognitive impairment. Others have argued that with Biden's recent acknowledging of him not fit to run for the president come November, a part of the United States Constitution that addresses issues related to the presidential succession and disability ought to be invoked, referencing the 25th Amendment. And I quote, "In case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president." Quote closed. But with the reality of Biden already out, will Kamala Harris be able to play her political cards right, despite Biden's previous poor performances? For the US Republicans, this is as good as a lost cause for the Democrats, and a win that would require minimal effort on their part. In the words of President Trump, and I quote, "Harris will be easier to beat than Joe Biden would have been," quote closed, as Trump told the CNN. However, for the Democrats, Harris still appears to be an unsettling choice placed before the people, leaving many wondering if she will be able to tilt the political scales in favor of Democrats. Irrespective of the current and seemingly divergent public opinion, the days following will leave Kamala with the difficult task of convincing Democrats that she is the best bet for the 2024 presidential race, and this will only prove appealing should she be able to deal with certain issues. So what does the political future look like for Kamala Harris? What are the challenges she must battle with and overcome if her candidacy must stand? Well, first in the list appears to be the fact that in the absence of a Democratic primary election, US citizens have expressed concerns that the very act of Democrats nominating a single candidate without considering or consulting with the opinions of the public is in itself undemocratic, leaving analysts and major support blocs wondering if Harris will be able to gather sufficient votes in the upcoming elections. Harris will also need to convince the US electorate that the initial public perception of her, based on previous records as reflected in the opinion polls during the 2020 Democratic primary elections, a record which the New York Times has referred to as highly uneven, has been trashed. In the words of some Black American observers, quote, "She will have to earn our votes," quote closed. And though she has been vice president for the last 3.5 years, some said she was still unknown in many ways and would need to present herself more fully to the country. More to this is the silence of top Democrats like the Obamas and Chuck Schumer over the choice of a Kamala Harris candidacy for the US Democratic Party in the forthcoming elections, as noticed by public even hours after Biden's endorsement of Kamala. Going by the recent words of Obama's letter, and I quote, "But I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges," quote closed. There remains, therefore, some ambiguity over who actually will replace Joe Biden, at least in the mind of the Obamas. And as some sources have suggested, such silence might just be an offshoot of the Cold War between the Clintons and the Obamas. These and many more remain major issues that Harris will have to deal with ahead of the 2024 US presidential election. In case you are new to this channel, please make sure to click the subscribe button for more of our videos on politics and power play. There are also widespread observations by those who otherwise refer to her as cackling Kamala, indicating that the first few presentations by the Democratic nominee has been below average. But this again might be too sudden a conclusion, as she might be able in a couple of weeks to get her ducks in a row in subsequent presentations. Also, Harris will need to build her fate amongst the women folk, as she currently ranks lower than Trump. An additional challenge is how she will be able to scale through the waters of international politics by convincing leaders across the international community of her capacity to sustain and improve US diplomatic ties with international organizations and major power blocs. While there still remains some time for her to reshape their opinion of her, according to a report by The Politico, a global media company with reputation for sound political news, centrist European politicians and officials have already indicated that Harris has yet to convince them she can beat Trump. Furthermore, major power blocs are yet to show they are convinced of the choice of Kamala as the Democrats' favorite nominee. For instance, Russia, through the Kremlin, has spoken in unmistakable terms and has aired her view about Harris, describing her as, in quotes, unfriendly. As Americans return to the polls come November this year, a major factor speaking in favor of Kamala Harris with regards to her candidacy in the upcoming US presidential elections is her identity as the first woman, first black woman, and first person of South Asian descent to win the White House. It is also gradually becoming obvious that the Democrats will capitalize on political issues such as freedom and rights, which although has become a complex and somewhat abused concept when viewed through the lenses of modern-day America, but no doubt remains a much cherished American heritage. Also, assuming the identity of a party that is ready to take on the fight against racism might be another political tactic which the Democrats might want to leverage, especially as a strategy to win over black votes. But will this prove to be a successful strategy for them as it was in 2020? Interestingly, leaders of the Republican Party seem not to be any less prepared with counter strategies. Little wonder Republican leaders are already urging its party members against the racist and sexist attacks on Harris, as seen in recent reports. And while they await Harris' official nomination by the Democrat Party, will she be able to convince the Republican electorate to jettison their concerns over critical policies such as illegal migration and border security, a reproductive freedom that includes abortion rights, and possibly come up with credible excuses for the overall low public ratings of the Biden-Harris administration? For now, it will only be fair for the world to sit back and watch to see if Kamala Harris will prove her capacity to tackle and her sagacity to navigate these hurdles successfully. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to click the subscribe button for more videos on politics and power play.